Hey guys, a very good morning and welcome to Power Breakfast. I'm Pavitra Parekh. Those are all of the top headlines that we're tracking for you this morning. So as always, let's take a look at what's happening across the global markets. So we got quite a mixed handover from Wall Street, and you have Asia, which is largely higher right now, and gains today definitely led by the Japanese Nikkei index, which is up around 230 points. So that one is seeing gains of 0.8%, looking quite solid on that one. Hang Seng is up on your screen, so that one is around 70 points in the green as well. Taiwan also looking quite all right. It's around 0.2% higher. What's also holding up quite well is the Straits Times, so that one is up around 0.5% as we speak. And what's not doing so well this morning, you have the Kospi index, that is the Korean market, as well as the Shanghai, which are seeing a little bit of red right now. No big cuts, but the Kospi is down around 0.5% right now, and the Shanghai index is seeing cuts of 0.25%. So rather mixed across the Asian markets, but it is the Japanese index which is really clocking in good gains. Let's also bring the SGX Nifty up for you now, because that, even though it has come off the highs a little bit, it is still indicating a start in the green for our own market. So it is around 22 points higher on the SGX as we speak. That's what's happening as far as the Asian markets are concerned. But let's also talk about the US now. Wall Street ended Tuesday's trading session mixed. So the Dow Jones gained over 200 points. It's seen its fifth consecutive day of gains. The S&P 500 ended marginally higher, and the Nasdaq Composite ended around 25 points in the red. CNBC's Sarah Eisen is here with all of that action from Wall Street.
Walmart and Home Depot shares both rallied strongly after reporting earnings. And since they are two of the 30 stocks in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, that index outperformed the other two major indicators. The Dow closing up about 0.75%. The S&P 500 index, which provides a broader picture of the market, was only slightly higher, and the Nasdaq edged lower on the day. Walmart shares are up 5% today after the retailer's earnings did come in higher than analysts were expecting. But those expectations had been lowered a few weeks ago after the company warned it was having trouble as inflation was making customers think twice about bigger purchases. And deals to buy homes are falling apart as higher mortgage rates and words about the economy make buyers think twice about those big purchases. A real estate consulting company says homebuilder cancellation rates have more than doubled since April. That's the action from the U.S. market. Back to you in Mumbai.
All right, Sarah, thanks a lot for getting us all of that action from Wall Street. In fact, staying with that, the minutes of the July FOMC meeting are expected today. And ahead of that, let's listen into some important opinion. And this comes in from Wharton School's Jeremy Siegel. So listen in.
The real prices are not rising. And I think if the Fed takes a look at that, they will not have to go more aggressively. So I think the market has it right here. I think with the June is going to be a bottom. And I think the second half of the year is going to be quite good. If they begin to loosen a little bit, I mean, not loosen in terms of rates because that's built in, but not keep that money supply, the biggest slowdown that we have ever seen, begin to raise it a little bit, I think we might get that soft landing that everyone else thought was impossible. Not a sure thing, but I'm becoming more optimistic about that.
All right, becoming more optimistic about a soft landing. That's the word coming in from Jeremy Siegel. So that's what's happening as far as the global market action as well as some important opinion is. But let's now bring in our research team to take you through everything that you should track as we get into our fresh trading session. We have Rima as well as Nigel joining us now for exactly that. Hi guys, a very good morning to both of you. And Rima, let me come across to you first. We just went through the global setup, but take us through everything that we should track for our own markets.
Well, for our own markets, Pavitra, the bulls have been completely in charge. Yesterday, we closed at 4 months highs on the Nifty and the Sensex and virtually closing at the high point. We had a gap up opening. We built on it. There were signs when the markets were getting a bit wobbly, a bit of a sell-off of about 40-50 points from the top. Not too much, but those dips too were largely brought into, and by the end of it, 17,800 was comfortably conquered in terms of the Nifty level. This morning, it suggests that it could be a very quiet start, some more consolidation. We could spend time consolidating in that band of 17,800 to 17,900. But in terms of cues, they all stack up to be fairly positive. So the U.S. markets continue with their onward upward march. The Dow was up 0.7%, gaining for the fifth day in a row. Oil prices continue their retreat. Yesterday, same time when we were chatting, the Brent crude prices were at $94.5 per barrel. This morning, we're closer to $92.50 per barrel. Inflows into the equity markets continue by the FI. So yesterday, the FIs bought 1,376 crore in the cash market. Every single day in the month of August, the FIs have pumped money into the cash market. The DII sold, but again, not much, 136 crores. So net institutional inflows were close to about 1,000 crores, which is fairly healthy. Back to you.
All right, so looks like most of the cues are turning out to be quite positive. The SGX Nifty also around 25 points in the green right now. But Rima, stay on and also take us through all of the individual stocks that we should keep on our radar today.
Well, the list is now going to get shorter and shorter now that the earnings season is behind us. But because crude prices have declined, and it's not just this $2 decline that we are seeing today versus yesterday. Last week, Brent crude prices had gone to levels of $100. So in a span of 5 days or so, we've seen Brent crude prices decline from $100 per barrel now down to $92.50 per barrel. So this is positive for pain stocks, but it's negative for ONGC as well as Oil India. Techno Electric has won new orders worth 1,455 crore. Bajaj Hindustan State Bank of India has initiated insolvency proceedings under the NCLT. Next Digital has announced a swap ratio for its merger with Hinduja Leyland Finance, which stands at 23 shares of Next Digital Limited for 10 shares of Hinduja Leyland Finance. Remember, both of them are Hinduja Group companies, so this is an intergroup related party transaction. And finally, JINDAL Poly, a films company, is now going to be foraying into real estate. The company has made an investment into an arm, which will be a subsidiary of JINDAL Poly, but that is going to be looking at the real estate business, tapping into the real estate opportunity. So that's going to be an interesting one to watch too. Back to you.
All right, Rima, thanks a lot for taking us through that entire list. We're going to keep all of these stocks on our radar today. Finally, let me also bring Nigel in, and he's looking at all of the cues from the FNO space. Nigel.
Well, one thing that's staying constant for our markets is the FI inflows. And they bought big time. Even yesterday, they bought close to around 1,400 crores odd. You need to keep in mind that we had a couple of large trades yesterday, both on Max Health as well as HDFC AMC. So stripped of that, actually, the net institutional buy number or the net FI inflow number would have been even higher. Now, that's the sense that you get out there. And they've been buying non-stop. Last 12 sessions, close to around 18,500 crores is what they bought. What do the FIs do in the FNO market, though? Well, long positions. They added close to around 3,500, 3,800 contracts on the long side. So more longs and shorts were added. In terms of buying index options, well, they bought more puts than calls. Close to around 2 puts were bought for every 1 call. And in terms of the writing side as well, they wrote more amount of puts than calls. So a fair bit of action on the put side in comparison to the call side, which brings us to a couple of levels. Now, given that the markets are moving up, the 18,000 call, well, that was fairly active in trade. And the sense you got out there was some buying on that particular strike. But at the 17,800 call, well, there was a fair bit of writing that we're seeing out there. On the downside as well, 17,800 put, well, the premium at around 65 rupees odd, there was a sense that there was some writing out there, which brings us to levels. We are in this broad 200-point range, 17,700 to around 17,900. Yesterday, one thing that you have to note is the Nifty Bank. It came off the high point of the day. For starters, the SGX Nifty is suggesting a start in the green. Let's see whether or not we can build on from here. Back to you.
All right, Nigel, as well as Rima, thank you very much for joining us and taking us through the trade setup today. With that, it's time for our first short break in the show. But up next, the State Bank of India has set up a special branch catering to startups in Bengaluru. We bring you excerpts from our conversation with the chairman when we come back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast on CNBC-TV18. Now, the State Bank of India launched its first branch dedicated to startups in Bengaluru. From the sidelines of the launch event, Ritu Singh spoke to the chairman, Dinesh Kumar Khara, and began by asking him about his perspective on the bank's decision to tread into startups, given the macroeconomic uncertainty. So hear out what he had to say.
The startups' source of funding from the equity will get dry up. Then perhaps they need the one which are viable startups. They need money from the credible partners. And that's why here is the State Bank of India, which is not a fair weather friend, which is a friend for life. So that's why we are here, and we are looking at all such opportunities where the startups have got a viable business plan and where they have got a plan which can generate revenue from many more years, which can offer solutions. I feel that there's going to be ample opportunities even going forward because they are actually creating value for many large ecosystems also. So I think, to my mind, there is always a good opportunity. Whenever there is some kind of a turbulence in the market, it's a right time for steady players to come and ensure that the market stays stable.
Just a final question on the interest rate scenario, rising interest rates, and a bulk of the lending rates are already linked to an external benchmark. Is there any sort of impact on home buyers, people waiting on the fringes because of these rising interest rates? Is that demand getting impacted?
I have not seen the demand tapering off, and earlier also my impression is that if at all interest rate goes up marginally, then perhaps it may not have any significant impact on the demand for the homes. And the kind of trend which you have seen till now, it actually supports this belief which I have.
All right, that was the SBI chairman, Mr. Dinesh Kumar Khara, talking about the new branch of SBI dedicated just to the startup space. But with that, let's move on. And like we've been telling you, India's veteran investor, stock market guru, and a titan on the Lal Street, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, is no more. He died on Sunday, the 14th of August, after suffering from a cardiac arrest. His larger-than-life persona and outspokenness will be missed by not only those affiliated with the markets, but also from people across walks of life. Jhunjhunwala's family as well as friends held a prayer meeting for him in Mumbai last evening. So these are some visuals that we have for you on the screen. And let's now also listen to BSE member Ramesh Damani and Alchemy Capital's Hiren Ved as they recall Jhunjhunwala's journey.
Other than Warren Buffett, he's the only man who's become a billionaire through stock market investing. That too in an emerging market, that too in dollar terms. I think you can woken up in the middle of the night. I've talked to him when he was in the hospital bed doing dialysis under pain, but he would still say he's bullish on India. He was a CA, he could have gone and stayed anywhere in the world, but he chose India as a conscious decision because he truly believed that the tricolor would keep flying high.
I think, leverage is the most sophisticated form. I think he understood risk. I think if you want to use leverage in stock market, the first thing you need to know is the four-letter word risk and how to manage that. And I think that, people think it's so easy to borrow money and speculate or invest, but it's really not that easy. And until his last day, he used to always say that he was happy paying interest rather than keeping money in the bank.
All right, those are some beautiful thoughts and words as we remember Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. But with that, it's time for another short break on the show. As we slip into a break, let's hear out Praveer Sinha, MD and CEO at Tata Power, speaking on the company's goal of providing clean and green energy in India and how it is enabling people to make changes for a sustainable. You're still watching Power Breakfast, and as promised, let's talk about the commodity space now. Manisha Gupta joins us with an update. As always, Manisha, good morning, and crude continues to slide.
It does, and it's trading at a 6.5-month lows right now. And we saw the U.S. crude prices hitting levels almost at 85.70 as well. Well, you are looking at a barrage of weak data coming into the market. You have weak Chinese data in sense of factory numbers, retail sales, fixed income. All of that came in on the weaker side. And then also the New York Empire State Manufacturing Index posted second largest monthly decline ever for the month of August. There are increase in supplies as well coming in, with Saudi Aramco ready to raise output. And with the Iran nuclear deal also, markets feel that it is going to be resolved after 18 months of negotiations. There are 3 issues remaining to be resolved, and markets do believe that could happen in this week itself. So revival of the deal could lift sanctions, and Iran oil supply could increase by 1.3 million barrels per day. That is what the markets are factoring in sense of increase in supplies, and the reason that you have seen a decline come in for crude prices. The point being that we are still holding above 90 for the Brent. Once that breaks, there is an expectation that you could be looking at some more longs getting out of the market.
All right, Manisha, thanks a lot for bringing us that update on the crude prices. But with that, let's move on and talk about another important story. As of November 2021, over 33 lakh children in India are malnourished, and more than half of them fall in the severely malnourished category. This is as per the Women and Child Development Ministry's response to an RTI query that was filed. It also said that Maharashtra leads the list of states with the highest incidence of malnutrition. So as part of our What's Ailing Rural India series, CNBC-TV18 Santhya Gora traveled to Melghat in Maharashtra's Amravati district to see just how effective the state's efforts have been. Take a look.
14-month-old Manishi and her 3-year-old sister Vandana live in Maharashtra's tribal belt of Melghat. And according to the Indian government's guidelines, both children are malnourished. Manishi weighs just 6 kilograms against a prescribed weight of 7 kgs and is considered to be suffering from severe acute malnutrition. Vandana officially falls under the moderate acute malnutrition category. Their mother Suganti says access to basic food is a struggle.
सुगंधी, बच्चों को आप दोनों को क्या खिलाते हो? कितनी बार खिलाते हो? आंगनवाड़ी वगैरह जाते हो क्या?
2 बार खिचड़ी, अंडा उन मिलता।
दोनों बार खिचड़ी खिलाते हो?
हाँ।
अंडा कहाँ से मिलता है?
आंगनवाड़ी से।
दोनों बच्चे जाते हैं आंगनवाड़ी?
2 भी बच्चे।
Manishi and Vandana are just 2 of lakhs of children who suffer from malnutrition in Maharashtra. The state has the highest incidence of malnutrition among India's states and has told the Bombay High Court that 6,582 children have died due to malnutrition between 2019 and April 2022. In its affidavit filed in April 2022, the state government has admitted that the tally of children with severe acute malnutrition rose by over 26,000 in these 39 months, while over 1 lakh children were added to the category of moderate acute malnutrition. The problem is not Maharashtra's alone. According to the National Family Health Survey 2019-2021, there has been no significant improvement in health and nutritional status across India since 2015-2016. 7.7% of its children are severely wasted, 19.3% are wasted, and 35.5% are stunted. 3.4% are overweight and 67.1% are anemic. Across parameters, India's situation has deteriorated. The pandemic has been a major factor for this fall in standards and has put India at 101st of 116 countries in the Global Hunger Index 2021 from 94th position in 2020. Pakistan, Bhutan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and even war-torn Iraq rank higher. Even central government schemes like Anganwadi, which serve nutritious meals to children up to the age of 6 years and to expectant and nursing mothers, have not helped. During the pandemic, many Anganwadis closed down, and in a few areas, beneficiaries received groceries instead of hot-cooked meals. But even these were sporadic. Now the scheme is coming online again, but the damage done to children is not reversible overnight.
0 महीने थे 6 साल के बच्चे आते हैं म्हणजे स्तनदा माता गरोदर माता 6 वर्षक बच्चे आते उनको घुसड़ खिलाते 10 बजे फिर 1:30 बजे खिचड़ी खिलाते अंडे खिलाते फिर उनका महीने में एक बार वजन लेते उनका माँ बाप को भी बताते कि ते बच्चे शाम में आए कुपोषित है उनको समझाते बताते कि इनको दवाखाना भर्ती करना है NRC में.
Experts say one big reason for deficient nutrition is a scarcity of funds. The government's allocation towards child health schemes has risen just marginally from 20,105 crore rupees in budget 2021 to 20,263 crore rupees in budget 2022. This, of course, covers multiple schemes, and Anganwadi services are just one of them. Even the budget allocation to the midday meal scheme that targets school-going children has dipped from 11,500 crore rupees in 2021 to 10,230 crore rupees in 2022.
Bombay High Court is hearing multiple petitions regarding malnutrition deaths in Maharashtra. The court has pulled up state government and the state machinery on multiple occasions. Recently, the court warned the state government that not even a single child should die of malnutrition in Maharashtra anymore. Later on, the state government told the court that the situation is under control now. But the reality is far from this claim.
मेलघाट में लगभग 50 के ऊपर डेथ्स हुई है अप्रैल टू जून तक और इसके कारण जो है कि कोऑर्डिनेटेड एफर्ट्स जो होने चाहिए PSC, RH और SDH में विद और अमरावती के जो हॉस्पिटल उनके बीच में होना वो नहीं हो रहा है क्योंकि कई महीनों से जो पेडिट्रिशियन गायनोकोलॉजिस्ट यहाँ मेलघाट में आ रहे थे उसमें इरेगुलरिटी है.
Melghat is just the tip of the iceberg. Even urban areas like Govandi and Mankhurd in Mumbai have reported a high number of malnourished children. A large number of these are associated with malnourishment among pregnant women, which is passed on to the infant. In response, the Maharashtra government has formulated guidelines to identify expectant mothers as soon as pregnancy is detected and enroll them for nutritional food supplements. But experts warn that reversing the effects from the pandemic-related disruption to these crucial schemes will be a long-drawn and painful process. In Melghat, with camera person Milind Wagmare, this is Santya for CNBC-TV18.
All right, truly heartbreaking to watch this story, but definitely important for us to highlight the kind of figures that we're seeing for malnutrition across the country. With that, we're completely out of time on this edition of Power Breakfast. We did close above the 17,800 mark yesterday. The SGX Nifty is now up around 35 points. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Bazaar Morning Call comes up.